That's what it is. He's sideways. Tilt your head.
Robert Schultz voter.
Yeah. All right.
Kind of beside himself.
Poor Joe.
But I'm fine.
I don't see why Joe's drink doesn't just spill right there.
Yeah. It's magic.
It's magic.
He keeps that up while it was intelligent. Here.
How's it going? Having a clue. I'm always the last to know.
You know, we still haven't figured out where you want to be, wherever you're comfortable, wherever you got a clear field of fight.
He's gonna run for the parking lot if he
I'm
tells me.
sorry, let me rephrase that.
Last time we saw him, he was running out there by us.
Going down the road. He's heading out.
Well, Barino's not here tonight, so.
Oh, he gets the in. Oh,
Next week.
the big kids.
There is a lot of traffic.
Weren't you in charge?
Reassure you in a way that we do get a little bit of a higher fee.
How are you, young man? Yeah, boy. Under much more austere circumstances than usual, I guess you would say, right? That was a pretty good.
Yeah, I was telling Wendy today. Yeah, I think it is.
Good information.
Lana. Remind her if we did. Yeah, we got about 1 minute. Are we live, John?
You are.
We are live.
I haven't had a
Recording,
sound check.
gentlemen. What's that?
I don't know if they can hear you.
Oh, yeah, change.
Joe, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No.
Hold on.
Try it again, Joe. Seriously.
Seriously?
Turn the volume up.
It's all the way up. I mean, I'm loud in my ears, so
Oh, hold
No,
on.
I can hear him.
it might be. Whoa. Yeah, Jeff is really loud.
Censor.
I can hear him.
You got me now?
Okay, Joe, now try it.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello? Check 1, 2. Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Jeff can hear me, so it's on your end.
We got you now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. John, it sounds like you have something unplugged or something. I'm just getting hissing.
Can you talk?
Speak up, Joe.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. Jeff, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Hey, John, it sounds like you unplugged something, like something was halfway plugged in. It was really hissy, and now I can hear you, but not as loud.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah, just real light.
Not gr- Yeah, it sounds like you're a million miles away. Or 3,000 miles, as the case may be.
3,570.
Something like that.
Okay, we'll speak up then.
Okay,
All right, we've got 7:55. Let's call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call please. Mr. Dattley. Here. Mr. Farino. Mr. Nimitz.
here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Thorne.
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Okay, it's a meeting of the Sleepy Hollow Board of Trustees for June 21st, 2021 is called to order. According to the governor's declaration, this is still being allowed, we're still being allowed to use remote meetings until the 28th of June to see what the governor does with his proclamation at that point. This evening, attending remote is Trustee Nemick and the village engineer, Jeff Steele. The rest of us are in the boardroom, and if you've already called them. Yeah. Okay, so we are set to go. Next item on the agenda is the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2021?
Make a motion to approve the village board meeting minutes of June 7th, 2021.
Second.
Moved by Harney, seconded by Thorne. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no correction to the minutes, may we, roll call. Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman.
Aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
Mr. Hardy.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Okay, I would actually like to have a motion to amend the agenda this evening to move the engineer's report up to the current time slot so that Mr. Steele may have the rest of the evening free. If you all recall, he usually attends just the first meeting of the month. He's with us this time due to the recent release of the bids on Sleepy Hollow Road. So if I could have
So moved, Diatley.
Second.
moved by Diatley, seconded by Thorne to amend the agenda to move the village engineer's report up to the current time. Any further comments or discussion? There being none, roll call. Mr. Hardy.
Aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman.
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. We have amended the agenda. Mr. Steele.
Good evening, everyone. Just to make this quick, I figured it'd be easier rather than writing a memo in regards to it. On June 11th, which was Friday, last Friday, last Friday, not last Friday, but the Friday before, is the bid opening occurred down in central Illinois for the Sleepy Hollow Road resurfacing project. If you recall, hopefully everybody has a copy of the results in the bid pack or in the agenda, which I believe it is. Originally, the estimate on that project was $653,126. You can see that Plody Construction actually was the low bidder in the amount of $363,000. The way that the state is they don't actually release the bid tabs, which is the unit prices. But as you can see, is Plody Construction was considerably lower than what the actual estimation was. I believe the reason for this was, since we can't obtain the bid tabs yet, was due to the cost of asphalt. In the bid estimations, is we had actually done a high cost estimation for asphalt, just the way that the prices of gas and the price of petroleum was actually going. Obviously, is the construction wasn't affected by that. So you can see that we got very considerable prices on that. If you'll recall also, is that this is a 75-25 split for Fed money, which basically the original estimate of 650-ish thousand, the village would have been paying $164,000 approximately for that. With the new bid prices, if the state finds it acceptable and approves Plody as the low bidder, is that actually comes out to 91,000 approximately that the village will end up having to be paid or end up having to pay for this project, which is considerably lower, about $73,000 lower. Originally, that money was going to be taken out of MFT funds. So basically, that leaves us a surplus of about $73,000, which I would highly recommend looking into doing a smaller street program this year, just given how the streets are and the condition of them. So any questions at the moment in regards to that? Just to give you a time frame, is typically is the state takes a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on how busy they actually are, to review all of the bids, and actually then from there is the contracts get executed, and then we can finally start up the project. We're looking at hopefully middle of August, beginning of August-ish, as far as a start date once everything gets approved and executed. So any questions or comments at the moment?
Anybody have any questions for the engineer in regards to the Sleepy Hollow Road project?
Is any swale work at all going to be done?
Not on this, just because of the way that the nature of the funds and actually the approvals that it would have taken in order to get any swale work done, since a majority of the upper north half is actually located in wetlands, is it actually require a environmental report if we would have used federal money in order to do that.
And maybe somebody already asked this, how long will this work take, or is it projected to take?
It is going to be taking, we have estimated 25 working days. That's on the high end, but just given the way that everything is, but hopefully it should actually only take 2 weeks, but again, it's 25 working days. And that's from start all the way up until punch list items and completion of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jeff,
Yep.
quick question.
Yep.
How much of the brush do we need to throw off the side of the road for the machinery and for them to operate in there safely?
Hopefully none, just based, you're talking about like for the shoulder stone and all that? Or are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
and just for the trucks to get in there. Well, because we have those low branches hanging, I know some of the machinery and dump trucks always,
Yeah, that-
and the
was
side, how
actually-
much should,
in part of the bid proposal is it was actually in there that no tree trimming will take place or cannot take place. However, obviously, is if a branch is starting to fall down or something's grown since the previous, is they still need to get village approval as far as any removal needs to take place.
Will Sleepy Hollow Road, are you doing it one lane at a time? Will the road be closed at all?
Just one lane at a time. So basically is they'll shut down during construction hours, is they'll shut down the one lane. They'll have flaggers on both ends. Also, there'll be message boards set up 2 weeks prior to just announce to everybody saying, hey, this is going to be happening.
Okay, and you're anticipating sometime August, September?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments for the engineer? Not? Anything else from you, Jeff?
I was just going to say is the only other thing is just possibly looking into utilizing those extra MFT funds is just obviously is because if we decide to do that, then we need to go through the MFT procedure, which would mean submittal to IDOT and getting that approved. Obviously, it won't take as long as through what we had to go through with the Sleepy Hollow Road project, but is just getting ideas if you wanted to actually start up that process and kind of get an idea in regards to that.
we should have that, in July then. Really keep this moving.
Yeah, as far as, because just to give you an idea, is typically it takes about a month through IDOT once it's submitted. Our plans and proposals and everything can be prepared within 2 weeks. So let's say if you decide at the next July board meeting on how much funds to use, is then we could have everything ready for board approval and submittal to IDOT at the next board meeting. So basically the middle of July, that board meeting. And then from there is we submit to IDOT. So that'll get us July, August. So you're looking at maybe September construction date-ish. So yeah, so about the typical time that we would have had normal road program on.
Okay. All right. Well, we can come up with the number that may be available by the next meeting, which would be the 6th. We should also have some suggestions that you have, you and Kyle
Yeah.
already got a checklist
Yeah.
of what we need to do.
Yeah, and if any of the board members have heard from residents as far as major issues that they've noticed, is don't hesitate to just drop me an email or let Kyle know. That way we can get an idea as far as that's concerned.
All right. Anything else?
Not from me. Anything from you guys?
It's just to do with roads.
You got anything with engineering per se that I have?
Yeah, I talked to Barbara today, and I live on Acorn, and you've got Danielle Court there. Because last week, my wife and some of the neighbors were coming out of the bird sanctuary, and there's a section that's in the retention basin. It's right next to the Patinellas. And we noticed that it was really green, like super green. And the retention basins totally burned out. I mean, with no rain. Well, my wife and Sue were looking at it, and they said they walked in it, and it was actually kind of squishy. And I brought that up to Barbara today. I said, Barbara, is there a way somebody can check that? Because there's no sewer line, no water line that goes under it, but there's a hydrant not far from it. And it kind of slopes downhill. And I went over today and looked at it. Now, I know it rained yesterday, rained considerably, and that used to hold a lot of water there, but they fixed it last year. But literally sink 2 inches, it's so bad. So I don't know if that's something I know it rained a lot last night, but it's still maybe a swath 2 or 3 feet wide and about 30 feet long, 35 feet long, and it's totally green compared to everything else.
We got a water main coming through there, Jeff?
Is that at the end of Daniel Court, or is it at the intersection portion of it?
No, it's at the end, and it would be where the
So kind of where we did that patch last year?
exactly,
Okay.
right on top.
Is it right at that, or is it actually in that green area?
It's right at that patch, like off to the side there. I mean,
Okay.
it runs along the grass, and it's, like I said, it's a good, it is definitely green. And when we saw it last week, I walked over last Saturday, when it was still really dry. And I said, wow, this is way too green to be, unless it's an anomaly, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll go out there with Kyle and take a look at it and see exactly. Because if I remember right, is that fire hydrant is actually on the other side of the road or other side of the court, and then the water line runs along that side of the road. But that's not saying that it's not leaking underground and hitting some kind of gravel seam. But me and Kyle can actually go out and take a look at it, and he can actually take samples if need be, just to make sure, see if there is any chlorine in it or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, just a FYI, because I know how, what I learned last month or about the water and our water bills, looking at them and all that, I figured I don't see it would be wasted.
Okay. Yep, could be.
Yeah, I'll definitely let Kyle know about that, and then we can go out and take a look at it and see.
Okay.
Okay, nothing else for the engineer? Then we'll see you later, Jeff. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Have a good night. See you next month, July.
July 6th.
Have a good night.
Okay, we'll do. Well, we've already moved on. Then. Okay, the next item is the president's report. We've done the gubernatorial proclamation. The next item is the introduction of the new finance guy. We've got a new gentleman with us this evening, Eugene Van, assumed the duties of Director of Finance for the Village of Sleepy Hollow, effective last Tuesday. He comes to us with some 30+ years of experience with municipals and public service. Not quite the Director of Finance that he's assuming the role of. And that was something that I've asked him to consider. And we took a look at it and he's given it a shot. And I think at this point, it is the keystone to the bridge keeping Sleepy Hollow going forward from this point on. I've got the chief of police, I've got a director of finance, director of public works. I think we've got the bases covered. With that, I'd just like to introduce you all to Eugene. He will be joining us on Monday evenings, the 1st and the 3rd. So we go through all the numbers. And, like I said, it's a pleasure to welcome him aboard. I know with the name Van, it sort of hints to me that it's Dutch. No, it's English. Ah, see, I'm sorry. I thought it was Dutch. I was going to say, boy, conservative Dutch and Sleepy Hollow. We go right along with that complaint we have of the screaming noises on the 1st and 3rd Monday nights at Sleepy Hollow. Finally had to explain to him. That's when we pay our bills and we squeeze the nickel to the buffalo hollers. Then we let him know. Gentlemen, if you've got any questions about finances in the future, Mr. Van will be your answering man. All right.
Welcome aboard. Yeah, welcome aboard.
Are we talking? Did we lose somebody? No, I guess not. Other than that, I really don't have anything for the president's report, clerk's report.
No report tonight.
Thank you, Tony. Planning and zoning, no report. Attorney, no report. The engineer has been and gone. And we're down to number 10, Director of Finance report.
I believe we have to do the warrants, so I'm not exactly certain on.
Basically what we do is we ask for a motion to approve the warrants.
I asked for a motion to approve the warrants based on the grand total of $120,513.72 is broken in the packet.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Thorne, seconded by Diatley to approve the warrants of June 21st, 2021 in the amount of $120,513.72. Questions, comments, or discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question. I was in today to go over the reports. I met Eugene and all and spent, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever it was, a couple of hours. And when it comes to these reports, like approval like that, should I rescind, not, participate, because I'm on the
No,
finance?
typically, Eugene would bring the warrants to us, and then a trustee, of course, has to bring the motion to the floor, and that would typically fall to the trustee that's assigned to the finance.
Okay, so I could have just,
You could, yeah.
okay, I'll know better for next time. I wasn't sure.
That's all right. I know. I'm sorry, we got
Nope.
some new.
In
people
business,
that-
it was a different story. You just had to be ready.
Okay, no other questions on the warrants at the moment? There being no questions, additions, roll call, please.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
Mr. Hardy. Aye. Mr. Dattley. Aye. Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the warrants so passed.
The mayor and I sat down with Brian Mock to go over the dental, vision, life, and long-term disability insurance. You should all have that in your packets. It's the blue and white pages right after the warrants. When you're looking at the dental, I believe we have a July 1st renewal, so we don't have a lot of time on this. When looking at the dental, we're currently using the standard. There are 5 other options. 2 others declined to quote. The 5 options were MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, Principal, Unum, and Reliance Standard. 3 of them have a better out-of-network benefits for their preventive and diagnostic. The others were the same. So the MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, and Unum had a little bit better. Standard is quoting a 7% increase. However, all the others were significantly higher at 17 to 50% higher than what Standard is charging. So even though some of them were getting a little bit better for out-of-network, overall, it was a huge increase. So my recommendation would be to stay with the current plan, the Standard, with their 7% increase. For vision, it's a similar with Humana, and there were 5 other options. Again, 2 declined to quote. All of them have better out-of-network benefits for exams, lenses, and frames. For contact lenses, Mutual of Omaha and Principal offered significantly better in-network and out-of-network benefits. MetLife and Unum, which are substantially the same as the current plan, and Reliance Standard is worse than the current plan. Humana is quoting a 5.9% increase, while the others are significantly higher at 21 to 55%. Reliance Standard is offering a 36% decrease from Humana. However, it's my understanding that this is a reimbursement plan where the employees have to pay up front and then hope for the check to come. So my recommendation would be staying with the current plan. For long-term disability and life, we are currently using Standard. While the quotes for life and long-term disability are quoted separately, we have to choose the same company for both of them. There were 3 options, basically, because 2 of them only gave partial quotes. They would not quote for the long-term disability. So the 3 options we had were Mutual of Omaha, Unum, and Reliance. Standard is quoting an approximately 9% increase for both. Unum and Reliance are significantly higher at 98 to 129% higher. Mutual of Omaha offers a slight overall cost reduction. However, their life alone is 34% higher. And they have this own occupation period for safety members that is double the current plan. So I'm not sure how that would affect the public safety pension contracts or public safety contracts. So at this point, I would be recommending staying with the current plan Standard.
Any questions on the ancillary insurance? We have a motion to motion to approve the,
The Standard plan?
well, I would say the motion to accept Mr. Van's recommendations on the insurance, which includes the vision, the dental, the long-term, and the life.
So moved.
Oh, I like it. I'm not supposed to make motions. Moved by Harney, seconded by Ford. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hoffman.
Aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
Mr. Hardy.
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, motion so passes. All right, thank you. Fine. Anything else, Gene?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Comments from the public? We have no one, I'll take that back, we got CM. Did you have a comment, CM?
Sure, I'll just speak briefly. So if you haven't received the Legend newsletter already in the mail, it should be arriving in the next few days. Sorry for those that were waiting. I did get a lot of inquiries last week as to people looking for them, and we just had a few snafus getting them to the printer, but they're well and they're out. There is a survey inside. It would be much appreciated if you could take that survey, and that will help us see if we need to change or pivot directions, or if we're doing our job well to produce a newsletter for you.
Okay, thank you, CM.
I don't mind today.
They're out there. They're coming in, all right. Well, we do have one that was submitted by Jot Form. Elena Carver, I'd like her comments read for her during the session. Quote, I want to express my frustrations with Sleepy Hollow clerk or whoever is responsible for recording recording the meeting minutes. It has become apparent that they are lazy because a new style of recording has happened lately in which only names of individuals are put in the minutes and nothing else, not even subject matter. The old clerk put a description of every comment in the meeting, and now it's not anymore. Robert's Rules of Order provides examples on how comments should be recorded. While some of the summary type descriptions used by the old clerk are no longer within Robert's Rules of Order's examples, they could be recorded as follows. Here's an example. Quote, Elena Carver gave comments regarding recordation of meeting minutes, unquote. If you want to add more, that's great, but name and subject matter should be the bare minimum. The clerk is paid money to record the minutes and likely gets paid regardless of how the minutes are kept. Please record the minutes with care. Okay? Perhaps because there's been so much comments lately about sheds, the amount of comments is more than usual, and the clerk thinks he can just put names in the minutes. Thank God Sleepy Hollow has a cameraman, or else we would not know what goes on over there. At least the Pledge of Allegiance is still said, Elena Carver, unquote. Okay, my only comment to that, Ms. Carver, is if you have questions upon the process of which our clerk records the minutes, I suggest you call him directly. He does have a phone here at the Village Hall, and you can reach him during regular business hours. Okay, that's it for comments from the public. Trustee reports. Mr. Harney, Roads and Parks.
One item, the culvert now along Willow, the south side of Willow, is just about ready to take place. Construction on that. That's from Winmore to Bullfrog. So that'll be, construction will start shortly on that. Kyle also asked me to tell you the road signs are going up a little slower than he would like. But Julie seems to be backlogged with their permitting. So he says they're still being put up. That has not come to a halt. That's all I'm doing.
Thank you, Ed. Finance, George.
Well, I did get a chance finally to sit down with Gene now, and I did spend some time going over, actually, a bit of time going over all the watching the reports today, financial reports, and didn't have any questions looking at the P&L, I mean, all of the balance sheets and all, and I thought they were done very articulate. I mean, it all looked good, from my first overview of it, and it's going to be a learning experience, but it's just amazing how much goes on in the village that I think a lot of people that are quick to comment about don't realize how much we're doing with so little. And I think at some point, we just need to let people know and let them know that even though they, Barbara and I, with zoning and all that, had for a long talk today, just about certain fees and things like that. And I think a lot of people in the village need to be educated in regards to the finances and how, well this village does with so little, and how certain things that people are requesting and thinking that's going to supplement the coffers really isn't realistic. So again, that's why I have the comment. I'm sure going forward, probably some more as I dig into it and all that, but it was a learning experience.
Thank you. Okay, water and sewer, Joe.
The only thing is I had a question today about some rates, Tony, and I was just wondering, we have done several ordinances affecting water rates and and fees for the village. What is your time frame for sending those to the codifier so they will show up on the online code book? Just not a rush. I'm just.
Everything that's been passed has been sent to the codifier.
So
It's been there for at least a month.
what's their time frame normally before they publish it then? Any idea?
No, I don't, but I can.
Okay.
Corey, and I can get back to you.
Thanks, appreciate it. So that's all I have, unless there's questions for me. So
No. Thank you, Joe.
Mhm.
Okay, police and public safety, Mr. Daly.
Just to note to all the trustees, to notice this report that Chief Parma gave to us about the information we're gathering off the speed signs and stuff. Very interesting information on how much traffic is on Sleepy Hollow Road, and the average speeds and everything. So a lot of good information gained from there, and I know the Chief's keeping an eye on it to make sure we keep things in line there. It's very good information. Anything further, Chief?
No, just want to let you know our ad hit went live today, actually. Online. Hired additional part-time staff. I already got one email from.
That's all.
All right, thanks, sir. Public building and environment, Mr. Cohen.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Kyle, and we walked around and took a look at some of the things that need to be done. One of the things that we took a look at was the salt barn and the roof and all that. He mentioned at the time, and Ed reminded me that he'd told him the same thing here recently, that in addition to the shingles, there's also quite a few sheets of plywood up there that have to be replaced. Shouldn't cost more than $30 or $40 million. I'm thinking that, but so I guess right now the idea is that kind of holding off until because it sounds as though the prices may be on their way back down again or trending down. So hope springs eternal. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks,
hey, and can I add one thing just so it doesn't get lost, Steve, Mr. President? That back when I was the building trustee, Barb Detmer had done a inspection of the roof on the building that you're in now, and she had recommended that get replaced as soon as possible because there was areas where the shingles are starting to fail. So just so that doesn't get lost, it's just something to keep an eye on. Because she said we were one thunderstorm away from losing our roof. So
It wasn't last night's storm.
No. Yeah, Joe, I'm going to have to put together a list of things that look that they need attention, and certainly the roof and the siding and stuff in this building is going to need it. Probably not until the next budgetary thing we'll talk about. We'll show everybody what it is, and the board can figure out how they want to prioritize that.
and just on the board, I was the the environmental and building trustee before I became water trustee. So once you get your feet wet and you have some questions, I can give you some information, some other stuff, what was good and bad and what was going on. So to kind of help you out, you can either, I think you have my phone number, or you can just, IM me on Facebook, whichever works out easiest for you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Appreciate
Sure.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nothing else for the building environment?
Nope.
Good, then we move to building and zoning. Mr. Moreno is not with us this evening. He did not leave a report. Move on from building and zoning to old business. Old business, we have, resolution 538. Amending and restating a certain procedure and rules for the use of the pub picnic pavilion in the Sabatino Park area.
I will,
What was that, Joe?
I was gonna make the motion. I thought you were done. Sorry, there's a little lag there.
Go right ahead. Calm down.
Go ahead. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve resolution 538, amending and restating certain procedures and fees for use of the picnic pavilion area in Sabatino Park, and change bouncy house to inflatable play structure because that seems to be what other people use.
Is that your suggestion, your motion?
That's my motion. Yes.
Motion is to approve, we need a second.
Second, yeah.
Okay, moved by Nemec, seconded by Diallo to approve resolution 538 with the recommendation that we change bouncy house to inflatable.
Play structure, inflatable play structure. That seems what
Inflated.
inflatable play structure.
Play structure. I got it. Okay. We've got it. All right. Moved and seconded. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Hardy. Aye. Mr. Hoffman,
Aye.
Mr. Thorne,
Aye.
Mr. Dev.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Thank you, people. Okay, any other old business to come before the board? There being no old business to come before the board, new business. Is there any new business to come before the board? There being no new business before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Diallo.
Second.
Moved by Deanne, seconded by Arnie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh. The last vote? Okay.